The ModernJeeper Show, the show about Jeeps, Jeeping, and Jeepers.
Well, hey, Modern Jeepers, this is another episode of the ModernJeeper Show with me, Matson from MediCloak, and Mr. Modern Jeeper, Corey Osborne.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Rockstar Jeep Girl Jessy, how you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you, Matson?
Oh, I'm good. I mean, look at this world we're in. Like you guys have been just crazy busy for the last couple of weeks, and we got to see a brief part of that because we did a little bit of a podcast from Death Valley, and for all of our followers, I hope you guys actually took a chance to watch that one because it's pretty cool seeing what was out there. And then KC250 with just some of the stuff that he's been popping up lately. Did you see that Titus Canyon one, the 360 view?
Yeah, the 360 video he did. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's freaking incredible. It's like, where was this camera posted? How was it?
On the very back. He had it like on a telescope rod on the back of his Jeep.
Oh, wow. Because I love when you can't actually see the pole and then the camera's just sitting there floating. Right. It's kind of all, but it was cool. So anyway, so you guys did that. You just literally got back like last night, right?
Last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last night, 9:00, pulled into Colorado. Yeah, I mean, and our guest can touch on this as well, but being out in the desert for just 2 weeks, with a lot of different personalities and that kind of thing, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of work. I told Jessy on the way home, we were driving back, we were about halfway home going through Utah. I said, how come whenever we come back from Death Valley, I feel like I need a vacation?
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, I've got feedback already for some of the people that are attended. And the reason you feel like you need a vacation is because you've taken this thing to a whole new level. I mean, there are events and there are things people go on Jeep trips and they do stuff and that's all fun and games. But what you've decided to do and how you've embraced it and the education and the research and the looking into and the management of it, right? Like, I need to go on this again just so I embrace this new world that you've created. But everybody says like you and like, hey guys, Corey and Jessy are just the perfect ambassadors for what we're doing out there. And you guys you just do a great job. So I really appreciate it.
He has a voice after we're done.
Yeah,
right.
And it works because she can drive the whole time and I can talk the whole time, and then you throw Dale Albright in the mix and his history and his knowledge of the area. It's a lot of fun, and we still see new stuff every time we go out there. We've been going out there for 4 years now or something, mm-hmm. And it's different every time, and that's what I enjoy the most.
Well, you've probably in total seen 10% of Death Valley in 5 years of doing the trips.
Yeah, we're getting better. I mean, we've crisscrossed it so many times now. The map that's built into my head. Yeah, I'm good. I can time. It's all about timing, right? And being able to show people kind of the highlights of a park that's 5,200 square miles. It takes a lot of mental games, I guess, I play with. Can I get to here by this time? And what are we going to do about fuel and all that kind of stuff? So.
And we did some pretty awesome rock crawling.
Yeah, there was actually we threw in some rocks. He
was
time.
Like, "Oh God!"
I just get out and spot everybody. So
you embrace the new world of Rocklander.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. So now, was that both trips you did rock crawling, or was it?
We ended up, because of how time worked out. The second group wasn't going to go through this particular section. But we were so far ahead of schedule, and that has to do with, it's kind of interesting. Even right now, being out in Death Valley on a weekend, it's busy. There's a lot of people, and it's early in the year, so I don't know if that's kind of a sign of what we're going to see this year. All the parks, I think, are going to be full. People are embracing the rock landing and the overlanding and going to events again. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, even with high fuel prices.
Yeah, the people will need to embrace the very, very high fuel prices in Death Valley if they want to get around.
Yeah, I heard like diesel was what $9,
$9.99.
nine.
Yeah,
man.
$9.99 for diesel. We actually paid $8.99 for
Premium.
mid grade.
Mid-grade.
Man,
Yeah.
man, that is. What's fascinating for us is we're not really feeling that yet, but we're going to. I mean, we're going to, right? The Jeeping community is still out there. They're still embracing product. We haven't seen a slowdown in sales. It's got to happen though. At some point, you stop spending money on the things that are important because you have to buy gas, right?
Well, coming back and looking at $4.50, $4.70 didn't look so bad after paying $10 a gallon.
Well, you can be
It's
places
kinda-
like Puerto Rico. Do you see how Puerto Rico was like $1.50 a gallon?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like in $1.50 is about the total of taxes that we have in our gas here in California, right? Yeah, it's insane.
It's funny how you become numb to it, though. I mean, after leaving there all the way back home, I'm like, $4.50? That's great price.
That's what they do to you, man. That's what they do to you.
No.
They raise
right.
the prices up and then they lower it down a little bit.
Then you don't even notice.
I remember when it used to be like, oh, it was 99 cents a gallon. All of a sudden it went $1, it's $1.50, and the media would have a big frenzy about it. And then they would bring it back down. And then all of a sudden the prices go down. And then it would go up a little bit. And then the media would have a frenzy about it. And the prices would go back down. And it would just flow like that. And all of a sudden you're going, wow, okay, great. So now I'm comfortable with $2 a gallon. Wait,
Right.
and now I'm comfortable with $3. And now, but that's what's going to happen.
do-
Like we'll get up to $10 a gallon, and then we'll be happy with $5.
Right. I do have to give a shout out to our friends at Milestar. I ended up putting on a set of the MT02s, the new version of the tire that's coming.
Yeah.
And I've got about just over 2,000 miles on them all through Death Valley. I had them put on in Vegas, and 2,000 miles later on their 38s. And that rig, the JT right now loaded up is about 8,000 pounds. And they did phenomenally, and they're wearing better. They're still quiet. They're smooth. Yeah, I'm super, super happy about them.
I didn't mess up any tires, so I'm super proud of myself.
Well, I'm excited too, because we have two sets of the 38s here, and going on our JL and on my JT before EJS. So I'm excited to put those on. I don't really need them. Like my 38s are totally fine, but like I want to throw those on.
It's probably not something you
There's
should
new
probably
stuff.
just throw out there.
What?
There are people out there that can't get a tire and would love a set of tires, and you're saying, "Oh, well, yeah, we got
two sets.
tires all over the place."
I got to have some advantage in life.
Did you ask Dale about the silt beds we bombed through?
No. I've actually talked to Dell. Mike's been here, and he was my rig actually looks pretty good when it was all said and done. Yep. It's a little bit to throw keys at somebody and say, "Here, have it for 2 weeks, no problem." Right. But it actually came back in better shape than before I left.
We'll talk more about Death Valley next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a guest there, so we probably should move on to that, because there's a lot we can talk about. We could sit there talking for an hour and a half, 2 hours about things, but that's not really the reason why we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Cole, hanging out with us. Hey, Dave, how you doing, sir?
How we doing, Matson?
Oh, we're good.
I'm good. Wonderful.
I had this whole big soliloquy, intro to do with, how we first met and the love-hate relationship and all the beauty of it. But the reality is, man, you're Dave Cole. You are known best for one thing only, and that is King of the Hammers and this amazing world you've built around it and this whole ecosystem, right? I can't remember when I first met you. If they core, you probably don't.
Decade.
Yeah, easily. But thank you so much for being part of the podcast and for the show today. There's so much to talk about. Obviously, this has kind of been, I started the show with the Jeeping, but I should have said, and Ultra4, because pretty much the last 4 or 5 episodes that we had Goodby on here talking about KOH and upcoming. We had prior to that, we had Ian Johnson kind of giving us a recap of what it was like out there, and getting all these different points of view. And I've been trying to get Raul on. I mean, your current king, Raul Gomez, and the Gomez brothers, guys who have just been, to me, the epitome of of the passion behind KOH. Getting him on board. He's on board. We just got to find the schedule because, somehow he's a busy guy. But we appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this ongoing story because there's just so much happening and we want to share it with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. We've been working together for quite a long time, and I'm glad you're doing the show, and I'm glad you asked me to come on.
Yeah, it was our pleasure. Well, we did
think
have
of Dave. I think of Dave as he's an evolutionary because every time I see him, he looks different. It's like the evolution of Dave, and he's done so many things. And it's cool. I only get to see you like once a year, and I know you're a very busy man, so the fact that you took the time to join us here is really cool.
Well, the fact that we only get to see it today virtually this year.
I'm a lot less busy now, so it's okay. We got plenty of time.
That's well, you know what, Dave? There's one thing I see right now. You have a big smile on your face, and that's got to have a lot to do with what we'll be talking about today. So that's awesome. It's good to see that. So let's go back. Let's talk about you before we talk about King and the Hammers. This is a show about Jeeps, Jeeping, and I know Jeeps aren't really part of your history. Like you're a Toyota guy, aren't you? Didn't you start back with
more Toyota guy? Yeah. I mean, I had to pull a lot of Jeeps out. I mean, I spent a lot of time recovering Jeeps, waiting for them at the top of the trails. I've done a lot of that. Now I've driven a little bit of Jeeps here and there, mostly Toyotas to start, and not because I really did start with the Bronco. My first off-road car was a Bronco. I had an '89 Eddie Bauer Bronco, and that got me into wanting to off-road more. So I bought a '78 with a 460 in it.
Well, I'm saying, was the '89 really a Bronco? Or I don't think an '89 is really considered a Bronco. It had a badge on it, but
the big body, the OJ
big
Bronco
body. Okay,
wasn't a Bronco too. It was
all right. That was the
big Bronco Eddie Bauer edition with the 351 in it.
Okay,
because it had the two tailpipes. The single tailpipe was a 302, two pipes was a 351, and it was a Windsor. It wasn't a modified. I had all this stuff. I was learning all this stuff back then, and then I got a '78 with a 460 in it, and that was like my first real all right, we're gonna do something now. And then that officially blew up like a month after I got it. Turns out it was blown up when I bought it, but I was too dumb to know that. And I learned how to rebuild a motor then, and that's when I really became in love with working on cars and fixing stuff because I built that 460 back up from a bare block and made it run again. So
how long ago?
That's where I got started.
How long ago was that?
Man, that was early '90s. That was right out of college. Just starting my career, and I was still living in Jersey, which is trying to find places to wheel in Jersey were few and far between. Then ended up moving to California, and I thought there's no way that Bronco's ever. I believed all the hype of I'm never going to get that '78 Bronco smogged in California, so I sold it on my way to California, and that's when I bought my 4Runner, and that's when me and Bailey started wheeling. And Bailey was like 3 years old, and it was just a thing. We just went wheeling every weekend. That's how we really got started.
So what pulled you out to California? Was it career? Because where were you born? I don't even know this.
I was born in Germany, but on an army base. My dad's retired Army. So I grew up all over the East Coast, everywhere, Michigan, Virginia, Jersey primarily. And then after college, I worked for GE Capital, and I ended up on a business trip to San Bernardino, and I stole my boss's rental car, and I drove to Lake Arrowhead, and I came back down the mountain and said, I'm going to live there. And he laughed at me because I was making $30,000 a year living in Jersey in a row home. And he's like, it's never going to happen. And a year later, I lived in California. There's a kind of a recurring theme of being told, no, you're not going to do something, and then doing it.
That's the best motivation in the world.
So yeah, I was told I wasn't going to move to California. So a year later, I lived in California. And unfortunately, right after I moved there, me and Bailey's mom split up, and I ended up being a single dad, and I just wanted to hang out with him, not inside. So we went camping every weekend on Deep Creek, and met a bunch of people that I'm still friends with now that we just started wheeling together back in like literally '99. And by 2000, I was wheeling at the Hammers, and by 2001, I was a Tim Bender, and then 2002 we were competing, and then it just kind of went downhill from there.
Wow.
So
That's
That's
pretty
the Cliff
incredible.
Notes.
That's pretty incredible. I'm just this evolution of you, and it's, you see, it sounds like you're not the type of guy that likes to sit still. That you've got to have something going on.
I'm actually starting to embrace now doing nothing. Like nothing's cool. I like nothing. But yeah, I'd hate when people bitch about stuff and don't make it better. And there was an opportunity to at least, I don't know that we were ever hoped that it was going to be better, but it was going to be different. It was something different. It could spur something. I figured somebody else would come along and do it way better than we do. And then we could just go and have a good time. And that's kind of been my thing from the very beginning. If we'll just keep trying stupid stuff, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, somebody will come along smarter and better and make it better. And then we can go hang out at their party. So.
Nice.
That's about, I mean, as stupid as it sounds, it really was that simple.
Hey, that's a simple philosophy. I like it. So you start the story about King of the Hammers and development has been rehashed many, many times. And on some of the videos, the videos that come out every year, they've done a great job each year of kind of embracing the story. There obviously are some points, like this, like, I don't even know which year it was, the video popped up and I'm like, okay, there's some good stuff about Dave in the beginning and how he actually made this all work. Because it wasn't just, I'm going to go start a race and people are going to come and it's going to happen, and just organically grew. It's like every startup story, right? There was a lot that you were doing every day in the background. I think my favorite part was you had basically told everybody, yeah, it's all sold out and I might have a space for you, until the last minute you'd like, okay, sure, you can throw them in there. It's building up the anticipation. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that happened. That actually did happen, but that was back to, I mean, when we first started, it was Jeff and I were partners when we first started this. And he instilled upon me that I mean, I would have absolutely failed miserably in the first 5 years if it wasn't for Jeff, because I still haven't set a budget. I still don't. I mean, this would be my, as a business partner with me, Matson, when you sponsored events for us, budget was never really the conversation. It was, how can we make it cooler?
Right.
Oh, we can get beer. Okay, let's do that. How much is that going to cost? Who cares? And we just kept going forward. And Jeff instilled a desire. He was successful in business, and he instilled in me the need that we at least had to be cognizant of the budget. And so, yeah, we didn't have any money. We needed $30,000. We made a budget. We needed $30,000 to make a race happen. I had, I don't know, $25 maybe, and probably a couple $1,000s in debt then. And so we started, and we agreed upon the budget, and I said, okay, I'll get 50 races at $600, and that's how we'll get $30,000. And the best way to do that was create a sense of urgency. And the best way to do that is tell people they can't do it. So we said, yeah, well, thanks for your name. We appreciate it. Maybe we'll get back to you. And then I called everybody back in about a day and a half and told them they had the last spot, but they had to pay me by the end of the week. We had $30,000.
I love it.
Awesome.
No, that is a, doing that and understanding that it's what it takes. That's not something everybody knows. How did you learn that? I mean, was it just something you shot out of the air, or is it something in your history that you learned
shit out of my ass since I was 10 years old?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, I've never looked at it as doing anything special. The only thing that's really been special is the fact that what's really special is the amount of the people that come on board. I mean, you guys are all a part of it. The reality is, somehow it just became cool to do the stuffs, right? And we somehow made it to the point that anybody could step up and say, I want to do it a little bit differently. And we encourage that. And that's really cool. I don't know how it happened. If I knew how it happened, I would do it 10 more times. I don't. There's only one King of the Hammers, because I haven't been able to make a second one. I don't know that anybody could make it. I think we all just kind of sat in a petri dish together and fermented in the desert and ended up what we are. And it's what we all are. I mean, you guys are just as much. I mean, you literally are just as much of a part of it as I am. I'm just a person. You guys are just a people. And we are all doing our thing inside of our own culture. And our culture is pretty cool. And the reality of it is, when you get to the point that we're doing the things we're doing, you tend to meet cool people. And when cool people keep doing cool things, the things get cooler.
It's interesting over the years, though. you've also, I mean, you're extremely challenged by everybody who is a racer and all of your participants, and to have to balance and juggle the things that you have going on just for this I'm going to call it this one little race. I remember the days when I was working for Gen Right, and you would stop in and talk to Tony, and you were extremely vital in the relationship building of all of the people. So even though, yeah, it's a culture and it's a bunch of people, you were also working pretty hard in the early days just to go visit people and talk to them and say, hey, how can we make this cooler? What is
Yeah.
everybody else's vision? And maybe you can incorporate some of that. And I think that it's just been, again, I think timing is everything. People are everything. You've done an amazing job, and I know there's a lot of people that struggle with you, with your personality. With I'm not going to go to that race again. Well, until next year when they show up and race.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man, and I'm fine with it could get really deep here real quick. And that's the reality of it is, I mean, I've been a broken person my whole life. I mean, my personality and everything about me it was suited just to do this, because the reality of it is I was useless in a regular job. I was useless, the people that choose to be my friends are there. It's a different level of commitment. But we're friends and we're a family and we do go forward and do stuff. But if I approach stuff functioning like everybody else has for the last 16 years, no, it wouldn't be in existence. The first time that we were $500,000 in the hole and no intention on making more than $200,000 next year, and no permit and no insurance and racers revolting and everything else, anyone else rightfully would have just folded up. And there's the same switch that makes me an asshole to people is the same switch that says I'm just going to keep doing this, and eventually they're going to come back, and eventually it's going to be good, and we're just going to work harder. And there's upsides to that because it succeeds, and there's downsides to that because you end up you burn through a lot of people. You don't necessarily have the greatest friendships with people, but the people that you are friends with are the greatest friends in the world. And I'm thankful for that. And then over time, you talked about evolving, and over time, I thankfully with different people around me that help me see different things, and I can try to be different and try to be better, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. But I can at least enjoy it more now. So.
Well, it is a classic startup.
I think sorry to get real deep on you, but
that's okay. It is a classic startup story. I mean, it's a classic startup story. The guys that can make it happen are not necessarily the guys that you see running it in 20, 30 years, right? I look at Travis and Uber, he's the same kind of guy, same kind of fight, right? In order to get for what they had to achieve, he had to be a fighter. Now they kicked him out of the company. They disgraced him, but Uber wouldn't exist without his level of assholery and his push and drive to do what he did to make it succeed. The same thing's true here. I mean, I agree. King of the Hammers would not be what it is. I mean, you just came off of what is, I would say, the best year ever for King of the Hammers, not only in what it sounds like, the attendance, the worldwide attention, the number of racers, but even just when it came down to it, the nail biting finish.
It was fun.
It was incredible.
But yeah, the competition always works itself out. Sometimes it's better than others. The competitions, you can't predict that, and all you can do is just give it a place for. If we can give the drivers a place to go do what they do, and then eventually there's always enough there. It's a really exciting racing. That's a good thing. It's an easy thing to make a show out of because it's really exciting. But this year was just fun too. I mean, it was fun. People had fun, and that's a big thing for me.
As opposed to just being fully stressed every day.
Well, I can tell you, yeah, I mean, I think that in general, both me personally, and then I hope more for our team, and then it trickles on down to the racers, to the sponsors, and everything else. If everyone's there to just truly appreciate that week of what it really is, because it's kind of cool, then you can't really be disappointed in that. If that's what you showed up to do, is to enjoy that culture, then all the rest of the stuff that just happens is just icing. Instead of trying to force it or whatever, just let it be comfortable and be fun. And at the end of the day, it's people are going to go home happy. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's been a year. I mean, can you really point to a year in King of the Hammers where by the end of the day, at the end of the race, and everybody's there, they weren't going, wow, this is incredible. I can't wait till next year. I mean, there's always the guys who go, well, I can't friggin' afford to be there next year, and I broke my shit, but they always come back. I mean, it seems like, and I've been doing go ahead.
No, I was agreeing. Go ahead.
I've been doing, I've been doing events 25, 30 years, and nobody really knows. The whole beauty of doing events is that when it comes down to it, you want your attendees, your people, all those participants that go, wow, this is great. And on the flip side of it, you have all kinds of shit in the background that you're trying to do, right? And I look at it, even when we were doing Stampede together, I don't know what it takes to do race ops, what it takes to do all the other variables. And when you look at King of the Hammers, and the few times I was exposed to the back end of what's going on, Dave, it's a freaking madhouse. I mean, what you guys are doing and all the little variables you had to run. And for a long time, it was just you being the mind to make sure that everything was happening. You had amazing people around you. And my God, those people are incredible. A lot of the volunteers and the people that have worked with you for years. But there is a lot of freaking variables going into putting that race together.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think what's actually got us to the point we're at right now is, I think it goes back to the chip on my shoulder, or the things I was dealing with personally, that kind of stuff, that I would never ever stop. So I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And the reality is that led us to a place of kind of like a finite, it was definitely going to end that way. And there was no way that it was going to continue, and no way it was going to grow. And the chip on my shoulder of no one else could possibly do this, which was it's not right, but it is right. No one else could do it, was going to be able to do it the way I was doing it. But the reality of it is, I'm fortunate now, as with the talent of people that have worked for us in the past. This isn't a knock. I mean, through this process that I've been going through the past few weeks, there's 46 people that have gotten a paycheck from Hammer King Productions over the last 16 years. Everywhere from Jeff Noel, myself, to our current 13 full-time employees. There's been 46 people that have worked here, and all 46 have done something to get us here. And the people that are here now are amazing, and they're strong, and they're smart, and they have great ideas and great talent. And it's really easy now to go, I don't need to worry about doing that anymore. I don't need to worry about whatever the different part, like productions now go in the right direction. Vendors are now going the right direction. Race operations is now going the right direction. And it was none of it was ever bad before, and we were doing our best. But the fact that the knowledge that not a single person can do this anymore, that was the biggest thing for me. And that was what let me sell the series and everything else, because I came to the realization I can't do it by myself. JT can't run a race by himself. Tara can't run vendors by herself. Ryan can't run the business by himself. We are all a team doing this. And if therefore it's not just me, and it's okay to let the chip go. We got a great team, and we're going to do great things. And so I don't know, maybe it was just
is that a recent realization, or have you been kind of evolving to that over the last few years?
I would say the past year has definitely turbocharged it. I've been fortunate to have people around me that have made it a safe enough place for me to be able to figure out my own personal shit, and also be at the same time be strong, talently wise, business wise, to be able to grab the reins or take the rudder or whatever the euphemism you want to have is, and just handle stuff when I wasn't doing those things, and not make it painful for me to, I mean, literally, you're right, man. I had control over every single aspect. I would go out there with you and pound steaks and put up the branding. I would go with JT and figure out the race course. I would go with the TV guys and figure out the production. I would go with sponsor people and work every single deal. And now I don't feel the need that I have to touch every one of those things, both from a personal perspective, as well as complete trust in the people around me that they're doing the right things. Even the people that aren't working with me anymore, knowing that I can sell the brand to another company because they're going to do better with it. I mean, I would not have had that ability as a human being to say that a year ago. I would have done what I've always done.
How many years ago did you have the cancer?
5
years ago. I only bring that up because I don't know if you know, but my business partner, Doug Powell, the engineer behind a lot of our products, he just got through that. So he had it, pretty much the last 4 months of 2021 was him fighting through it, surgery, et cetera, et cetera. And I know for him and in his world, and here's a guy who is as driven as you are, and just he never stops thinking about what the next thing is, or what the next business is, or what the next product is, or what his next purpose is in life. And he is now in that point where he still has that mentality because it's just how he's made, but he wonders what it's all really for, and like, what is he really trying to do? I mean, what is his purpose of doing stuff? And I know during that year where everything was running, when you came back from there, how was your mindset changed? And did you jump back in going, oh, I've got to take the reins again, or did you have a change?
Yeah, when I came back, so cancer wasn't the trip for me. That wasn't the thing that did the triggers, because I came back from cancer probably even more unhealthy than I was before, because then it was personal distrust and stuff like, I mean, it was difficult to come back in. We had a lot of just discord amongst our team, and some of it I was creating, or at least, I mean, I created the team. So in the end, it's my responsibilities. That's one thing that I'm positive that is another way that we succeeded, is at the end of the day, I take responsibility, whether it's me or not me. I'm part of everybody in this mix. If I'm baking the cake and the cake tastes like shit, then it's my fault. Regardless if the eggs aren't good because of the farmer, I picked the eggs. And now we have a team that I know for certain is here for all the right reasons, and here for the things and doing the things. And not that I don't want to ever make that sound like anybody that's not with us now was not that person. It just wasn't the way the dynamic worked out. And I take responsibility for that too. And now we're in a position that I think we can do better things, and we can do it in a more happy way. And if we're doing it happier, then that's going to trickle down and everybody feels happier.
Right. I get that. So going back,
or it's going to be a complete disaster. We'll know in about 3 weeks, right? I'm just kidding.
So let's go back into KOH a little bit in the history. So because I think I first went out there in 2010, I think was my first taste, because we got into the business 2009. We show up in 2010 out there. That was still like, I think that was the last year of what it felt like the Wild West. Like, I remember being up on Sledgehammer, Jackhammer, I get those two mixed up, whichever one. And there was there's guys, individuals hanging out on the rocks, and rocks falling down and on the heads of attendees.
2010 Sledgehammer, Lauren Healy winning the race, Shannon Campbell laying on top of Will Carter. Yeah. Casey Carey rolling over, Dean Bullock smoking a cigarette. Yeah. All the things.
All the things. And it was just, it to me, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe all this is happening, but it was still like fun time. Was that the major shift where all of a sudden BLM came in, a lot more rules, you had to start putting up fencing, and that, is that where you started shifting a little bit more to a professional race? Or
something else happened in 2010 though, man. 2010, that was our race. And 3 months later, 8 people died at the rock pile
Oh,
at the MDR race.
yeah, that's right.
It wasn't just because we had a party on Sledgehammer that year.
Right.
The reality is that party on Sledgehammer scared the living piss out of me.
Mm.
And it scared the living piss out of everybody, because I can tell you this, when the BLM called me in 2010 on the radio and said, we got a problem in Sledgehammer, and I said, okay, let's send the police over and get him. And the police said, I'm not going in there. There's no way. So at that point, I'm in 2010 with 3,000 people. There's only 3,000 people in there, by the way. All the stuff of 25, that didn't exist. There might have been 5,000 people tops in Sledgehammer relative to today's parties when we have a lot more.
Right.
But it was controlled only by your peers, which is in reality is how we've succeeded now too. We've found a way to, the reason why King of the Hammers can still be run today is because the same 10,000 people that were there in 2011 still are. It's people like you. If any of the three of you were sitting at Cougar Buttes or sitting at Chocolate Thunder tomorrow and watch somebody do dumb, you would say, hey, don't be dumb. And that level of peer pressure is the reason why King of the Hammers can still succeed, because everybody still feels ownership in that. If you watch somebody drop a can on the ground in front of you, you would ask them to pick it up because it's your dirt too. And that level of ownership from at literally every single person in the desert is the reason why it succeeds. It's also the reason why it's polarizing, because you guys, you wouldn't have cared so much and wouldn't have been disappointed in me or bummed at me about a decision if you didn't feel ownership in it too. The reality is you were an owner in it. You like, everybody does. Everybody feels that passion and that ownership, which lets them feel more passionate to be bummed at me or my decisions. But that's okay too, because it's a give and take. If it wasn't for that ownership and that passion from you people, and when I say you people, from everybody, we wouldn't be doing this. You wouldn't be doing a podcast right now. You wouldn't be going through Death Valley. We do this because we freaking love it. And we're all really desperately not trying to have a real job, which is another thing Jeff was spot on about.
There's that.
Why do we want to go back and have a real job? We can just do this and just be around our friends and do cool crap. And
right.
That's all we're really trying to do. Jeff nailed that in 2008. He said that. He's like, every single person in this industry is desperately trying not to have a real job. He's right.
Did you have the vision, Dave? Did you think 5 years ago, like, did you go, hey, I want there to be 200,000 people coming in the gate? Or is it just kind of you keep doing, you keep doing the things that you know are the right things to do and it grows on its own? Or did you purposefully go, I want this to be ginormous and I want international people to watch it? And
we absolutely pulled some triggers that way. I mean, the first person I called when Jeff and I, split, when I bought Jeff out, was Emily Miller. And Emily Miller was running a PR firm, and she could help me frame us differently. And the reality of it is, as you guys now know as well, everything is about how you frame it. And so we framed it like we were the best in the world when we were nobody. I mean, we literally called ourselves the ultimate desert race. For what purpose? We're not the ultimate desert race. We could barely even tell which difference between the green flag and the checkered flag. How are we the ultimate desert race? And so, but it's like we made that, we put that out there and then we backed it up and we kept walking that talk until we did it, I guess. And, I just, like I said, if I knew how I did it, there's no school for this. I didn't graduate college. I left and started going to work before I graduated. If there was classes on how to do this, I'd go to them right now, but I don't know that I can find classes on how to do it because I think we're just literally making it all up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, at what point? I mean, when you started this thing, and
does that make you feel more comfortable? Would you like to invest more money in Matson?
Yes.
Let's talk about that sponsorship dollars.
Yeah, right. And when you started going down this, at what point how long into this before you quit your job and started doing this full time?
The day that Jeff told me he wanted to buy me out of the company. That was 2000, after the 2010 race. for the 2011 race, excuse me. So after the 2011 race, and we had just gotten to the point that our directions for where we wanted to go were completely different with the company. And he told me he wanted to buy me out, and I told him I didn't want to get bought out, and we agreed that we would just pick a number. And I told him pick a number, and if his number was too high for me, then he could write me a check, and if it was just right, I'd write him a check, and I wrote him a check. And then I ran home and I borrowed money to cover the check. But I didn't have any money, so I borrowed money from Rob Beebe, who was Tom Beebe's dad at Griffin. And I mean, everybody, it's pretty funny. Somehow in 16 years, I've been accused of being a greedy, rich, like incredibly successful, just doing this for money. And I'm also a broke bastard that can't rub two pennies together. Somehow I pulled both of those things off at the same time. But I can tell you, I have more than a couple pennies, but you can still hear them rubbing together because there's only a few of them in there. But it's fun.
You touch on Griffin. Tom and the Griffin family. They were there from the beginning. What year did they come on board? I remember hanging out with them in a VIP tent, and just what an incredible story they have, right? As a company, as people, and their willingness and support of you seems to be like deep rooted with them. Even being able to step back and go, we're here, but we're going to let you take it to another level with other sponsors, right? And be able to work with.
Yep.
Just talk about them a little bit.
I'll never forget. Tom Beebe called me. He was just a guy calling me on the phone. I was in the Denver airport flying home from someplace. I was still working full time at that point. I was working for Ceridian at that point. Jeff was working full time on Hammer King. It was 2008. It was the first real race, and he just asked if he could come out, and we got him a motorhome. It's the first motor. I never know you could rent motorhomes like that, but we did. It had no hot water in it. The pooper was already full. The batteries didn't work. This was a guy who was going to be our only sponsor, and he shows up and the motorhome doesn't work. So I learned how to fix motorhomes that week too. And then he came back, and him and his brother came back, and I didn't realize it then, but the reality is they had bought the company. It was a fairly small company. It's not what the Griffin we know now. It was a mom and pop company that they were buying. That was 100% hot rod focused and 95% East Coast focused. They had almost no foothold on the West Coast, even in the hot rod market, even though that was their main market. And somehow Tom had the vision that off-roading was going to be more appropriate for him than hot rodding on the West Coast. And he wanted to use King of the Hammers as that vehicle. And I didn't see the vision of that. And it turns out it worked. And somehow, and, I know we did our job for him. I know he's happy. I mean, Tom was here yesterday. We're still friends. We hang out. He lives 4 hours north of here. They came down to enjoy this place last night. And we're still friends. We're still family. It's ironic. I mean, I'm incredibly transparent. They paid me $50,000 in 2008. They paid me $50,000 in 2022. I get the same $50,000. And Tom told me after we succeeded from a business perspective and we really changed a lot of people have Griffin radiators in their cars now. There's a Griffin radiator. And think about it. If you have a JL and the thing's overheating, what do? You get the Griffin conversion. I mean, that's the thing, right? They succeeded in getting the market share they wanted to get. And probably I was around kind of around the whole Jeff thing as well. Tom just basically said, I'm really here for a vacation now. I can take $50,000 and I can go to Puerto Rico and be a rock star. I can take $50,000 and I come here and kind of support something that I think is going to be good. I'm taking a shot at it. And I could be a rock star. And he does. He comes out and hangs out. He gets to hang out with everybody, sits on the start finish line, has a good time. And Ryan Thomas right now is mooning me outside. There he is, right there, mooning us.
Nice.
So,
and when I was talking, he said, it sounded like they could have stayed on if he wanted to be that kind of guy. He could have stayed on as title sponsor because that's what he had the rights to. But he stepped back and let you take it to the next level.
Yeah, he had the vision to know, or belief in me to know, that if he kept with his investment with me and kept staying involved with the racing and in the event, that we would take the extra revenue we were doing and make something better with it. And Nitto coming on board, that was Tim Colty back then. Tim Colty was the marketing guy at Nitto. And him and Tomo, who's the president, still the president of Nitto right now, they approached me and they did their market research. They knew everything about us. And it was crazy to have a guy like Tomo, who was the president of the company, know so much about us, like about us personally, what we're doing with the business, why we're doing it that way. And so between Tom's support and then someone with the stature of Tomo and the president of North America coming to you and saying this, it changed our ability, or changed our focus, and made us put our big boy pants on right away. And that's what happened. We had more revenue, which let us pick up the live show, which let us do this, which let us do that, and everything's kind of snowballed from there. So, there's obviously a lot of things happened in between Tom coming on as a title sponsor and Nitto and everything else, but it's the recurring theme there is great people that are truly in it for the sport and the culture. There's not a single, Matson, I'm not blowing smoke. Tony at Genrite, Larry at Poison Spider. Remember back in the Metal Cloak, Genrite, Poison Spider feuds, the hat
right
back the boys.
Back when that stuff mattered.
Exactly. And then it turns out that there's a lot of people buying Jeep parts, and there's enough parties out there that we can all go and have a good time. And at the end of the day, we're just freaking old guys. I remember, Corey, you might have been there. I remember Tony meeting me on the lake bed and him just telling me, this is the stupidest thing. You're going to destroy Johnson Valley. You're going to destroy off-roading. This is going to be the worst thing in the world, and I'm never going to be a part of it. And
and how many hundreds of thousands of dollars he dropped into racing?
But now this is dead serious, and I can say this with a straight face. He might have been right. And him coming on board did shape us a little bit. And then other people shaped us, and we shaped and kept moving around and evolving. To your point from the very first part of the conversation, we've kept evolving, and we've evolved because the partners that come in, they have a stake and they have a voice and they have some ideas, and we all figure it out together. So even that stuff we work through. So it's kind of cool.
That is very cool. So you evolve, you start getting more guys involved, the TV show. So let's talk about some of the statistics, like just in this year, because what was the online viewership I guess it's an entire week. We'll talk about all the stuff going on now, but just on race day on Saturday, what was the online viewership?
I don't know the exact number. I want to say we're about 2.5 million unique people are watching around the world. The one number that I can tell you that I'm proud of, this is the one number of all of it that I know this is the only number that matters to me. Most sports on television, and I'm not going to name other racing series, but almost every other sport on television has an average watch time of less than 10 minutes. Someone tunes into the show, and within 10 minutes, they have been sucked off to something else, or they decide they're not being entertained and they go someplace else. Our average watch time is over an hour. It's 1 hour and 9 minutes this year. And that has increased every single year since we started. I'm talking, we used to be 8 minutes, and then we went to 12 minutes, and then we went to 15 minutes, and the 30, and then we went from, Ryan's breaking out some data for me right now. Here's our thing. We had 80,000 spectators, 526 teams, 419 credentialed media, 31 million minutes watched, 1.9 million total views, 1.4 million unique individual IPs. So that's unique individual. So it's not 2.4, it's 1.4. Average watch time was 1 hour and 7 minutes and 48 seconds.
Wow.
That's a lot.
And is that just on
total audience, 351,500,000.
Wow. That's for the entire week, or is that for?
Yeah.
Wow. So
that's for the month. For the month of KOH, between all the third-party media and everything else, we're touching 351 unique million people.
Wow, that's incredible.
Which
I remember you tell a story years ago. You were told the story of when you went over to Europe and to check out and start doing this little series of. I think you were over in Europe, and you're walking to a little bar in the middle of no place, and you had your King of the Hammers jacket on?
Croatia.
Croatia.
In the DMZ area between Croatia and Bosnia, with me and JT Taylor and Chris Bolger. Yep.
Yep.
I
remember this.
That was 2011 as well. I mean, in 2011, people in Croatia knew about us. And it's not because we did anything. Literally, we were there to watch the Croatia Trophy Challenge, and the guy's like, I never get off work for Croatia Trophy Challenge, so I watched it on YouTube. And I watched it on YouTube, and it said, if you like this, you might like this. And up popped King of the Hammers. And that guy was sitting there saying, I know JT Taylor's car, but it used to be Torchmate. I mean, it was the most mind-boggling, surreal conversation you could ever be having in an Eastern Bloc country. I mean, it was bizarro world. Wow. And it hasn't changed. I mean, I got to go on vacation this past week, and I'm sitting in an airport in the middle of no place, and the guy's like, hey, did you go to King of the Hammers? Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's cool.
Very cool.
But
so
I cannot impress enough. It has nothing to do with me. It literally doesn't. That's what's cool about it, man. You guys are doing podcasts about it in May or March, whatever we are now. I don't even know what month it is. But you guys are talking about off-roading, and the subject comes up, right? Our culture is so rad. The people that are in it are so rad. And the things that we do are really, really cool. And it's just cool, even if there's never a King of the Hammers again, the fact that I'll see all three of you guys out in the desert wheeling, that's cool enough. It really is. And there's 10,000 more people that I've been privileged to meet and that I could go hang out with at any time and go wheeling. I mean, what more do you need in life than that?
Well, let's be really frankly honest. King of the Hammers not only was a cultural thing, not only the race and the excitement and entertainment, but it has single-handedly impacted technology that is now available to the average guy and the average wheeler. The technology developed and built. I remember we were talking to Goodby. I was talking to Goodby, and we were talking about when he was doing his little short course racing, and they were taking a rock crawling bug off the Rubicon Trail, or a buggy off the Rubicon Trail, and trying to race these things. They couldn't turn. They couldn't handle that. They could go over the rocks, but everything else was they were shoddy. And what has been built around this idea, like, I want to win King of the Hammers, so I'm going to take technology to a new level. And the companies, King, Griffin, all these others that have come in and advanced technology. I mean, this race, if it does nothing else, it has taken what is available to the average consumer now to a whole new level.
Lauren Healy just took his King of the Hammers card and finished third in Class 1 at the Mint 400. On the podium in Class 1 in the very, very, very deep end of the pool in his Ultra4 car. And he's not the first. I mean, I finished top 20 once. Shannon's finished top 20 once, but that's not at the Mint. That was for me at the Henderson 250. I think for Shannon at the 250. I think Shannon and Casey and I have all finished top 25-ish at the 1,000. But for Lauren to go out and just lay it down and have significant mechanical problems, but the technology is going through the roof. It's pretty awesome. I don't think we're there yet. In fact, I know we're not. I mean, EV stuff's going to change. We're going to be at the front of EV stuff, and EV is going to massively change performance. And it's not going to be because of an EV car. A hybrid car is going to win King of the Hammers. It's going to happen in 3 years. 100% going to happen in 3 years. Because the technology of what you can do with that vehicle is significantly better. And as soon as we figure it out, then it's going to be a thing.
I want to talk about that.
I said it at Nationals last year, and I mean it. I will never, ever, ever, ever build a car with a transfer case again, but I'm never going to stop rock crawling. I love rock crawling. I love it with a passion. I just tore my spec car now has no gas motor in it. It's gone. I'm putting an EV motor in my old spec car right now. And I'm not looking back.
So I want to talk about that in a second. So we had some good conversation with Ian Johnson about that. But going back to it, I heard, and this is one of these, I heard this back, I think, when the first time that you had an Ultra4 class I might have been in the Mint. They actually wanted to set you up in, and how to phrase this, but essentially they thought you guys were going to be slow. So they set you in a different category. Right. And they expected
Vegas to Reno. It was
Vegas to Reno.
Yep.
And they set you in and they were, obviously they blew everybody away because you guys weren't slow. but it was this. There was a definite.
Oh, we were slow then.
discrimination.
No.
Okay.
No, we were slow. Casey
Comparatively,
was right. 100% slow. Yeah. The fastest car in the no. We were very slow, and we also didn't know stuff. And the reality is, and this goes back to technology improvements. 2010 Vegas to Reno. It's 125 degrees outside. It's Vegas to Reno the hard way. 3-day race. It's warm as hell. And back then, nobody ran fuel injection in the desert racing. Very few ran fuel injection. And almost nobody ran carbureted in rock crawling because we got rid of carburetors in the mid 80s. So we didn't stop running when we fell over, right?
Mhm.
So we're trying to run fuel injection. We're coming at it from the bottom up, and we melt down everything. I don't think a single car successfully didn't cavitate that race. Everybody cavitated. Everybody had fuel starvation problems. I mean, first night, Randy Slauson's trying to build a cardboard tunnel around the radiator in the bomber so he's not melting down the fuel tank. My IFS car literally burned down to the ground, brand new. I mean, it was gnarly race. We didn't do well, but we came back and we figured out how to make fuel injection work. And now everybody runs fuel injection. Who runs a carburetor? I mean, a few trophy trucks run a 8-stack, but there's the vast majority of people running fuel injection in the desert now. And we figured it out. We didn't figure it out by ourselves, but we all figured it out together. We figured out, I mean, Wayne Iselson. I raced the race with Wayne. We finished 3rd or 4th or whatever. He had to start my fuel pump probably 25 times because we couldn't figure out how to keep fuel pumps from cavitating. That's not a problem anymore. And we figure stuff out and it goes across the board. But yeah, it's cool. I remember that same thing you're talking about with Casey Folks from Vegas to Reno. I called up Casey and said, Casey, I want to bring 20 or 30 cars to your race. He's like, Dave, you realize we are a go fast racing organization. I said, yeah, Casey, I get that. He's like, you're going to have to run a blue light, Dave. I said, okay, Casey. He's like, I'm afraid, Dave, you guys don't have any business being out there. I said, Casey, I'll bring you 20 cars. And he's like, okay, Dave, that's no problem. You have cars. So as long as I brought him cars, it was cool. And we brought cars, and he was right. We were slow for a year, but we're not slow anymore. And it's cool. Some of us are still slow. Some of us aren't. It's getting there.
And right. I mean, and the evolution of the quality of the racer. I mean, the days. Do you see ever really the days that somebody who simply is a garage hacker can win? Does King of the Hammer still have that open, or it's now professional level? And if you're not running a $250,000 car, you're not going to make it.
I believe that Eric Miller and Josh Bleiler and Randy Slauson are all garage hacks. They're just really freaking good at it. Randy Slauson's building his car in his garage. Tell me he's not. He's building his car in his garage.
Right.
Same way he built his car in his garage when he did it in 2009 or whenever the first time he won was. He's building his car. His garage is nice, and his skills are impeccable.
Right.
He's good at it. But there's other people that are good at it. And Josh Bleiler is not buying a win. And I don't think Raul Gomez bought a win. The reality is they overcame everything. They overcame new car blues. Who overcomes new car blues takes a car off the trailer and goes wins King of the Hammers. Right. That's because you spent the last 10 years figuring out what the new car blues are and not having them anymore. Good job on you, Joe Thompson. That's not none of that stuff. He's not. Raul didn't walk into Joe Thompson's shop and beg him for time to build him a race car. He built a shop around Joe Thompson. They found talent. They found skill. They found passion. And they went and did it their way. That's still the same thing. It's just, it's not like Chip Ganassi is coming in with Lotus and they're engineering a new flying Ultra4 car. They're still using Atlas transmissions or Atlas transfer cases. They're still using Turbo 400s and they're still using LS motors. Nothing's changed except for our ability to understand what the mistakes are. You know how to build better shocks now than you did 10 years ago, right, Matson?
Sure.
I know you do. I know your product's evolved. And we've all evolved our offering. But in the end of the day, we're still the same people. I mean, I'm racing San Felipe in 3 weeks. I'm going to race it in an RS1 because I like freaking racing. we're all still just garage hacks. Just have a couple of us have better tools in the garage. Some of those tools are living human beings that are phenomenal fabricators that are like happen to work with us. But it's what we're choosing to do with our money, and it's what we're choosing to do with our life. I sit in the garage with Chad and Derek, and we bullshit about how to make better cars every single night, which is the same thing we did 20 years ago. Just didn't do it together. Now we do it together. Does that make sense?
Totally. Is there a point where we see more like Ford style team sponsorship?
I hope so.
With factory racing.
I mean, I think there. So you're touching sideways on a point that's kind of been prevalent out there, that Ford coming in is bad for stock class and all that stuff. No one knows right now. I know for something you guys don't know about. Ford gave out 5 more cars. I think it's 5. It might be 4 to other stock class teams that have nothing to do with Ford. Guys that have been racing in Cherokees, guys that have been racing in other vehicles, but they've been racing. They've been passionate about the sport. And Ford said, you know what? Here you go. Here's a truck for you. That doesn't happen. I mean, 5 years ago, I mean, Jeep didn't walk in and say, here you go, have a few JLs, right? And now Toyota wants to be involved. And there's more coming and there's more happening. And I think that's wonderful. I don't see it as a bad thing that there's OEMs would not only want to build cars that are better out of the box and are a better vehicle to start with. They're actually passionate about that. That's pretty cool place to be. And now there's more OEMs that want to be there, as long as we continually do it in a professional manner and keep everybody doing the right thing, like keeping the culture the way it is, keeping that in that framework. I think it's a great thing for everybody to be involved. And I think it's wonderful that Jeep or Toyota or Ford or any of them are building cars. The UTV companies, I mean, the reality is the UTV companies have changed it more demonstrably than anything else, more than Ford coming in. The reality is that I can walk into any dealership, as long as they had product, walk into any dealership in the country and buy a UTV and do 100 miles an hour down the road. Anybody can do it. And think about it. When we started this, Rhinos didn't even exist. Mm-hmm. Facebook didn't exist, and there wasn't a Yamaha Rhino when we started this, right? And where it's coming now is, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of cool.
It's cool, but against that thing, that impact that you have had, the impact that your racers have had, the impact that the entire community you've created has had on just the world of off-road, and what we see and how we want it. It is incredibly cool. And of course, talking about the Bronco itself, because you were part of the, I guess, back a bit, a committee, right? That they basically look for a little advisory committee, and you were part of that group.
I was a small part of it. Yeah, there was Casey Curry was on it, and Teresa Contreras was on it. Sorry, Teresa, missed your voice for a second. There was lots of people on it. Guy from Icon, lots of people were on it. Probably like 10 or 12 of us from around the industry that were on it, starting back when it was a cardboard buck, before they even made anything out of clay. So yeah, it's been a really cool iteration, because they actually listened. They actually cared. And then I can tell you for certain, I mean, it's fairly what's common knowledge now. The Bronco was basically built at the ranch out in Johnson Valley, and they arbitrarily on their own set the bar of what it needed to be. This isn't a Bronco until it can do this. I know for certain they broke a lot of parts on Chocolate Thunder, just trying to figure out how to get a stock vehicle through Chocolate Thunder. And because that was a bar, it has to, if it can't do this, then it can't be this. And they were hardcore about that. And that was pretty rad to see.
That's incredible. So, it's obviously it's a hit. I mean, the Bronco is a hit. We're already, we're working on products. Everybody's working on products, trying to make it bigger and better. And then of course with the relationship there. So I do think that the whole idea of factory racing is phenomenal for everybody involved. I think I'm look forward to the day. And obviously Ford has done this completely, right? All of its marketing and advertising shows that it's out there in Johnson Valley, but you're going to see more and more. You see Toyota, Ford, all these guys put tons of money into NASCAR with the idea that their V8 is proven and or their engine's proven or whatever their technology is proven. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to that badge on the side of a new Toyota that says it's King of the Hammers approved, or some sort of branding like that. I think it's going to happen.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Of course, that's the next level for you with your sponsorship, is giving people an opportunity to say, hey, that's fine, but you got to put a King or Hammer badge on your next. I want a Toyota truck. I want a Toyota Tacoma that is KOH badge.
Stop saying Toyota. I can happily and positively announce that we're going to have a KOH Bronco. So we can stop talking about that. Don't even want. This is how I end up in trouble, Matson. My next call is going to be from. Oh, look at that! Detroit's calling.
Yeah. Well, there is
live. Great, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. That's I didn't say. Well, that's man. Who has the deeper pockets? Listen, I own Ford stock, and I've always been a Ford guy because they didn't take government money back in the day, but there's some deeper pockets out there.
This is no bullshit. It has nothing to do with the pockets. I can tell you why. I can tell you exactly why. They came to me and said they were interested in racing, and I asked, "Are you going to put your cars on the start line?" And they said, "Yeah, we're coming there to win." And that was the end of it for me. And I can be dead set. When the JT came out, they didn't even want it to be filmed. It was risk adverse. Ford came in and said, "We're going to win. We came here to build the best car, and we want to win." I want to be a part of that. Right. As a racer, as a human being that likes competition, I'm in for someone saying I want to win. And so I'm not the one that's getting the benefit of the deep pockets. I'm happy they're spending as much money as they are in our sport, but the culture is what's going up, and it's cool. And they're doing the right things. They're getting involved with Tread Lightly. They're getting involved with getting people new on the trails, new experiences. That is the one risk point for UTVs. There's been no barrier to entry for UTVs, but there also hasn't been a lot of education. So you get in a UTV and you're running around, you can cause a lot of damage without having that pride instilled or that caring instilled into you about the ground and the earth and everything else that's going on around. And I know Ford's doing it different with the Bronco because they're actively engaging with the people that are helping to bring that message out. That's important. I mean, you talk about thinking about all the stuff, but literally I am thinking about that stuff. That's why it's important to be with Ford, because they really do care about growing the culture, not about getting a trophy today and then leaving tomorrow. I mean that from the bottom of my soul, and anybody that knows me would know that I'm being straight up about that when I'm talking about it.
Well, it's important. They have the racing history, right? I mean, let's face it. There's no such thing as Jeep performance racing teams. Or why are there even any FCA brands that are involved in, or Stellantis brands that are involved in racing these days? Historically, Peugeot. No, I mean,
they're supporting Jeremy Purick with that Hemi powered Jeep, right? There's a Jeep factory team. I mean, Jeremy might not,
but it's not their history.
Might not have the same program that. No.
Yeah, it's just not their history. They're learning, and they learn.
Didn't even want to. When they first started, when they were involved with the race, and I'm thankful they were. I don't want to be burning bridges with Jeep either. I'm thankful they're there, but they didn't want to be involved with competition. They wanted to be able to touch the lifestyle part of King of the Hammers, but they didn't want to be involved in the competition of it. And I understand that. They spent 30 years saying tread lightly, tread lightly, tread lightly. Oh, by the way, here's my 700 horsepower motor and 40-inch tires on my Jeep, not treading lightly. I get the dichotomy of that. I understand where they were coming from. But you can do both. I know for certain that I care about the land. I know for certain that I care about the environment. And I can do that in my pre-runner at 110. I can still care about it. You can do both.
Right. And from all intent purposes, what you leave Johnson Valley after 2 months, everything we've heard is it's in better shape than when you arrived.
Yes. I think you see it too. It's not the hearing part of it. Yeah, no, it's not anything we're doing either. The reality of it is it's cleaner before the race starts than it was when we got there. And then it stays cleaner the entire event. And then we pick up at the end just to make sure, you had a party at your parents' house when they weren't home and you make sure that all the coasters are back in the right spot. We do that. But the reality is all our friends left the party in They didn't trash my parents' house. The house is still in a good shape, and we just kind of clean it up and hang out. And that goes back to the ownership. You guys would not possibly leave if you went and tailgated at a NASCAR event. There's a chance that one of the four of us on this call would leave empty 6-pack next to our car when we drove away from our spot in our $80 a spot parking spot that we've been tailgating at, right? There's a chance that we don't pick up the piece of paper walking out of the stadium that falls out of our pocket randomly. That is possible. There's almost no chance that any of the four of us or anyone that we know in our circle would ever do that in Johnson Valley. If you dropped a beer bottle cap out of your car at 40 miles an hour, you'd stop and pick it up. And that's why it's so awesome there, because we all feel the same way about it.
A little different when I lost the entire tool bag on the race course, but you know, of course I didn't know what mile I lost that. The appropriate action then, Matson, if you lose your tool bag out of your pre-runner at King of the Hammers and don't get it back, your appropriate reaction is to go online and bitch about it to me. Say, how about that we didn't get your tool bag back to you? Yeah, how come you didn't pick
That's
that
the
up
appropriate.
and return it to me? Where's
Matson,
my lost and
follow
found
the rules.
box, okay?
Oh.
Yes.
Play the game.
So let's talk EV, Dave.
Yeah,
So-
let's talk about EV.
Yeah.
Kyle Seglin, I got a chance to speak with him a little bit, and prior year he finished, and then this year he had some mechanical problems. What do you feel is in the air for EV? Are the racers, I feel they're more acceptive of going EV. How many guys signed up to get the crate? What's going on with that?
There's 12 people getting the crate, including us, including me. I'm not planning on racing with it, but I might. I don't know now. Hadn't thought about it. I just wanted to make an electric rock crawler, but now I've got a spec car with an EV motor in it. I mean, why not go race? Or have somebody else race it. I've got this kid I can't get rid of. He tends to win a lot. I might just put him in the car.
He's such a you got to be such a proud papa. That's a whole nother
He's a good
path
kid
to go. But
And again, but we all raised him.
Yeah.
He literally has been sitting in your motorhome since he was 12. So it's the truth. Corey, tell me you haven't fed Bailey and you didn't give him, brown sugar Pop-Tarts at the Hammers on Friday night at 11 o'clock at night when I hadn't come back from my 4 o'clock in the afternoon wheeling adventure. And where was I? Broken on the trail someplace. But don't worry, Bailey will be fed someplace. He didn't die. But yeah, I don't know. We're talking about EV stuff. I think it's gonna. I believe that the groundswell will really start to come up from the OEMs. I believe that they have the deeper pockets to make it happen. My concept with the spec EV class goes back to us being garage tinkerers. I believe that if you put the technology and you make it less encumbering and you put it in the hands of smart people, they'll make smart things happen. So I'm trying to take away the risk and the unknown and the gobbledygook of EV stuff and give them a simple, here's the throttle pedal and here's a whirring motor. You know what to do now because our people know what to do. Just figure it out. And we're going to let them figure it out for a while. And it'll take a couple of years of figuring it out, kind of like IFS or bypass shocks or any of the other technology that we've been fortunate to be able to adopt lately. And they'll figure this out. And within 2 or 3 years, that whole package will be completely obsolete. It won't be the right motor and it won't be the right battery packs and it won't be this and it won't be that. But the only way we knew that is because we found out what does work. And we can't find out what does work until we find out all the things that don't. So let's start. Because if we don't start, we're going to be left behind.
Right.
So,
what about hydrogen? Any interest in trying to play that game?
100%. I don't even know. That's the whole thing. Forget EV. I mean, literally figure out how to do this because you're I don't know. You found some gemstone that works and it magically teleports up the rocks. I don't care. Just figure out how to do it better.
Right. Just figure it out.
Just figure it out. So how many packages went out?
12.
12 packages.
12.
So 12. And is it public? Who are the guys that all received those, or What's the game?
Yeah, they're out there. I don't remember off the top of my head. I can tell you, I could probably name 7 or 8 off the top of my head, but we did it from a couple different ways. I did it from the people that I felt were culturally ready to support it and not get hung up in the not get stuck on it, be able to think outside the box, right? Like a Kyle Segalin. I also picked guys that had already demonstrated their desire to focus on our series, national champions. If you want a national championship with us, you know how to race and you know how to commit yourself to being at those races. And that's what this is going to take. This is going to take commitment of building the car that runs that motor in 2 years will probably be a 3rd or 4th generation of the car they build tomorrow. Every person that we picked out of those 12 are going to keep tinkering and they're going to keep pushing to figure out what's the best way to get that power into those tires up that rock. And the people we picked, I hope, are the right people that are willing to just keep making those sacrifices and keep failing so they keep succeeding, so they find a way to succeed, because we're going to fail a lot. A lot. That's what we do.
Well, I'm looking forward to see what it comes about. So you have now, from that class standpoint, are they 4,400 or is there a different class number for them?
No, so EV spec is EV spec. It races against itself. This is one of the main moving parts that we're going to have to address when we're talking about a series different from KOH, and the management of it. Because my intention all along was, okay, this is going to be a 45-minute car at full throttle. Therefore, race a 35-minute race. Give us a margin. If that's where we're at right now, that this is a 35-minute full throttle power package, then give them a 35-minute race so they can succeed. They can have fun. They can work on performance. They can work on all the things. Battery technology is going to change so much in the coming years that we're going to be able to put more power and more power density inside of those same boxes, the same form factor of those boxes. So if you built a car around 4 suitcases, and right now that car can drive for 35 minutes, I guarantee that the people at AEM, the people at Dana, the other marketing partners, and the people, and even partners that we don't have right now, someone's going to come with a better battery, and when that happens, we're going to go to them. We'll bring them on board, and we'll get their battery power. But when that happens, that same car is going to be a 2-hour car, a 2.5-hour car. To your point about hydrogen, why isn't it an eternity car? Just keep dumping water into it, and they'll keep running. Okay. I mean, if that technology ever gets there, then that would be great for everybody, right? I don't think we're there yet, but when we get there, it's going to be awesome.
Okay, well, let's talk about getting there. We got
Death
been
Valley,
talking a lot of stuff.
Water there.
Diving into the future. All right, and one of the reasons we reached out and said, "Hey," is because you've touched on it a few times in this conversation, but you made a significant change to your entire world here just in the last week or so. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
What did you do?
Okay. Yeah. We as a company, we packaged up Ultra4 Racing as a series, and we sold it to Jason Robinette at Mid-America Motorsports Park. Mid-America Off-Road, excuse me, and his wife Gayla, and they're passionate about, they have a complete, it's kind of back to the Jeff thing, right? They have a completely different business model of how they can see they can grow, and I believe they can. And I know that I'm at the point physically as a person and with the team that we have, I have no more money to go hire more team, and we have no more time to be any better at what we're doing than what we're doing. And we're at the point now that King of the Hammers is starting to fail because we're spending so much time on a racing series. Scoring was an atrocity this year at King of the Hammers. Our communication, not terribly great. We had a lot of problems, a lot of stuff, just little stuff that if we spent a month pre-working on that, those are issues we don't have again, right? But I can't ask any more of my team, because the second we leave King of the Hammers, we're going to Kentucky, then we're going to Mexico, then we're going to here, then we're going to there, and we'll finish up in November. We all take a breath for 2 weeks, and then we go cram KOH back down our throats again. Screw that. We're the same team, the same people that helped build all of it for the last 16 years are now going to focus on one event. and we're going to make that event the best event in the world. If you think King of the Hammers has been cool lately, wait till next year, because we're actually going to prep. We're going to make decisions about a race course that are longer than, you guys, everybody that was like, we want more course details. I hadn't finished making the course yet. I really hadn't. I was adding trails the day we did the live show from my ranch and announced the race course. I was still adding trails to the course. I ran King's Veto the day before that thing. Let's stop doing that. I know 20 more King's Vetoes now. I'm going to go cut them. I'm not going to tell anybody about them. And then we're going to go add them to the trails and just keep making the event bad. We're going to get cooler music. We're going to get better at the front gate. We're going to get better at communication. We'll just get better. We'll focus on it and just have a good time.
Kudos to you, because I don't
And
think
so,
a lot of...
in the course of that, sorry.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, so if you want to get more focused and more granular or better at King of the Hammers, you have to give up Ultra4 then. You can't, because right now we are surviving. And there's another fact to it too, is that reality is I would, at the end of King of the Hammers, I'm $500,000 net positive as a company. This is the time that if you ever thought I was going to walk away, now's the time to do it. I could walk away with $500,000 and never see me again. Of course, that's not going to happen. I haven't done it in the last 16 years. I'm not going to do it now. But I'd spend the next year spending that $500,000, try to keep a series going so we get back to King of the Hammers again. The series was never, the reality is everybody's right. We do need 4 or 5 more big events. I think Sturgis will be one of those events. I definitely think the Oklahoma race that Jason wants to put together is going to be a big race. If you can get 3 or 4 King of the Hammer style size events in different locations around the country, our series is going to be bigger. If NASCAR was only Daytona, it wouldn't be NASCAR. NASCAR is Daytona and it's the Brickyard. It's this, it's that, right? Let Jason and his team go do what they do, which is they want to throw all new energy and a lot more money than I'll ever see at what they believe is a culture worth throwing the money at. The reality of it is our biggest business deal wasn't getting Ford or getting NIT or getting Toyota. It was finding someone like Jason Robinette who has success in business and a desire and a passion to take it further than I've taken it, to pay for it and go. That's the biggest thing that's happened. It's not getting Ford. It's finding someone that has the passion and the money to go make it better, because I'm out of both. I'm not out of passion, but I'm exhausted. And I think I posted up on Facebook, which is another thing that's kind of odd, but I posted up on Facebook and said, I can do what we're doing for 2 more years and then I'm dead. I can do King of the Hammers for 20 more years. I can't do Ultra4 series for 20 more years. It will kill me. And I have not, even with all the stuff I've learned, I haven't learned how to take that much off. And then I know that if I take that stress off me, I'm just adding it to the people that work with me. It's not fun. So let them handle it. They can grow it. They can make it better. And the series and the culture will be better off for it. And we agreed from the very beginning that there's transparency. So when the deal notes come out and you guys know what actually happened, and you know that, if things fall apart, the series will come back. We have a plan B. It's not like I'm just cutting bait and walking away from the series. The series is the culture, and I'm not going to let it just die. I'm really hoping it's going the right direction. But we have a backup if it doesn't, and I'm going to go now focus with our team and go work on King of the Hammers and make it even better, and some other things too. We got some other ideas.
And I can only imagine what an entire year of focus on King of the Hammers is going to do versus, the last, rushing to it after finishing up the Nationals. Now, is there going to, on the Ultra4 side of things, do you have any idea what Robinette's future is? Obviously they're scrambling to kind of make it all happen now, and it's just going to happen. And there's lots of discussions, and the internet is full of idea makers and people out there with their suggestions and
I can tell you honestly, almost every single person that's talking about it on the internet doesn't have a single clue what they're talking about. And that's being real. I'm not being rude. It's just being real. And I can also tell you that the process that's happening going through that is been pretty cathartic for me as well, because the reality of it is, it's like, for 16 years, it's the same people that make all the noise on the internet right now about them being upset are the same people that were mad at me a month ago. You really do get to the point to realize that it has nothing to do with anything that you're doing, and you're never going to make that person happy. Under any circumstances, that same person's going to bitch about it. And it's fine. I spent so much energy trying to fix people that I just need to worry about myself, because I have plenty of broken enough for me. So,
Well,
and that piece of that.
Kudos to you, Dave, because I think it's pretty rare that, I mean, we all do the same thing, right? We start something and it's successful, and then we don't spend enough time in making that thing extremely successful. We say, well, that worked, and then what do? We move on and we try to make the same thing somewhere else just as successful. Instead of, I know a lot of coordinators and a lot of promoters that have, hey, we had this show, so now we're going to have 5 shows all across the country because this one worked out pretty well. And that is unfortunate.
Yep.
And those people, they tend to fail. They work really hard. They're very driven, but we don't spend enough time in really excelling at something and putting our all into, let's make this better. So kudos to you to have the foresight to go, wait a minute, I can't do this because you're too thin, or whatever the reasons, personal, professional. I think it's huge that you're going to spend the time and put back into something that you're extremely passionate about and make it even better, even something that is already extremely successful.
Right. I hear what you're saying, and I mean, you nailed it. Which I couldn't let that go. I mean, I just couldn't. I couldn't wrap my head around it. It was like, there's no chance whatsoever. It's like, it'd be like if someone saying, you know, you worked on this all this time and then you just want to hand it over, and it's like, I couldn't ever wrap my head around that, and now it's pretty easy to do. So, and it's easy for a lot of reasons. A combination of all the things coming together, and a large part of that is knowing that it's in good hands, right? And that we have a plan. If it goes wrong, we can back out of it. I mean, but to know that it's in good hands, and that they have intentions on making great things happen, makes it a lot easier to swallow.
Well, it's the evolution of Dave Cole. It's the evolution of King of the Hammers. And what is this American? What is it called? American Short Course Racing? What's that all about?
Great American Short Course.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. That's a good question. Here's the truthfully brutal answer. The brutal answer is that, well, we can get really brutal. I'll go brutal today. Lucas screwed it up. Lucas, there was a civil war in short course racing 7-8 years ago. And Bob Pattison just came out and said, if you race with them, you can't race with us. And that created a division in short course that was difficult to overcome. And it put sponsors, it put everybody at risk. It put the entire culture at risk. And it led to a fragment or a fracture that is still happening right now. When Lucas folded up, a few of their main patrons came to me and said, you know, we're basically going to get $300,000 in assets. We're going to buy these assets, and there's really only $150,000 in assets, I believe, something like that. Can't remember the exact number, but they paid that money, and they basically handed the keys to what was Lucas over to us. There's a gentleman named Lee Perfect, and his wife's name's Poppy Perfect. They have been running Lucas Oil Regional Racing for the better part of a decade. I mean, that is their DNA. That's what they do. I've worked with Lee on multiple different occasions, but whether it's us promoting a race with Lucas or him working with us, and him and Poppy they're exactly like everything else that we've come to know, right? Like all the other own it, feel it, love it. They're my family kind of thing. They're the same people. But in the short course world, if I'm in the rock world and you're my people and we're all together, then Lee has the same camaraderie with his world in short course. So I made it really clear that I felt that I could, wave magic pixie dust on it and it would turn short course into King of the Hammers, which doesn't happen. But I wanted to kind of front it and get it going. I thought, and actually the entire first discussions of when I was first talking business with Jason Robinette was going to sell him short course because he has a short course racing track in Oklahoma. He wants to be a bigger presence of that. He could be the integrator that takes the Midwest and the West and brings it together. Kind of, you guys all know short course. He's basically rock sports Jim Baldwin. I mean, he's incredibly successful financially, wants to throw that financial success into his passion and take a roll of the dice of making it bigger than it was before. That's what he's doing. And I thought that it would be a perfect fit with him with gas. It didn't work out there. And as we've done this purchase, he didn't want to that part of the business. So I still have gas. I still strongly believe in Lee. Gas will go as far as Lee can take it. And I will support Lee in anything he can to get there. I wish it's kind of like the thing with Ultra4. If I don't have the passion to make Ultra4, if I don't have the passion to show up at 20 weeks of racing for Ultra4, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I mean, I haven't been to the short course races and I didn't tell anybody I would be. I didn't ask for a short course, but I certainly, and I value it's a part of our ecosystem, right? I don't view it as a competition to rock crawling. It's just something different way to get your jollies off. And so I mean, if we can keep it alive, we'll keep it alive. It's kind of at a net neutral right now. I hope to, and I hope I can find some people that want to help me kind of push that culture. I think we can. But in the interim, until I can find someone that can help carry it farther than I can, I will definitely try to keep it alive and just value it. I value the dirt culture in general, and to see part of it die off would suck. So I don't really have the answers for you there. I wish I had the answers. We'll be talking next year about how we solve short course. I don't have the solutions for it yet. I just don't want to see it die.
Well, the fact that you're thinking of the point of how can I solve short course, right? It's a challenge. It is what it is. I mean, it's the real. I
can't. I know I can't solve short course. I'm Dave Cole. I'm an alcoholic. No, I'm kidding. I'm not an alcoholic, but I know I can't solve short course.
All I know is when I met the guys. All I know is when I met the guys out there, when John was doing the Vora, trying to integrate Vora into his races, the one thing that these guys all said is they want to burn fuel, right? The racers just have a passion for racing. We've got a massive community of people that have a passion, and you know, King of the Hammers, you have 7 days now of people that are passionately burning fuel, passionately racing. And now you just got one other avenue of people who want a passion. I don't care if it's midget cars, dirt bikes, whatever. There's a huge motorsports world of passion, and that is incredible. And the fact that if you can help influence that even more, great. But we're just trying to keep it alive and having the fun, not only for the attendees, but for the people that simply want to burn fuel.
Yep. You nailed it.
Yep.
You see, you didn't even have to have me. You could have just given that speech and I could have said,
there you go. Hi, guys. Yes. Here, I'm getting a personal endorsement here from Dave Cole. Well, this has been an incredible show. We've got not only I think I've learned a lot of philosophy from you, and from just seeing what had happened. Obviously, there's so much more we could talk about it. We could dive deep into KOH this year and what it means. But I just wanted to congratulate you on making some what seems to be some great decisions, not only on how KOH came together this year, but on what the future. I love seeing you smile. I love seeing you happy about the future and excited about the future. Yeah, well, it means a lot. Right. I mean, for everybody who has, it's this. You talk about the family, you talk about the group, and the reality is that many of us have seen you in every different level of emotional struggle, from happiness to just like, what the hell's going on in this world around me. And if failure seems like a seconds away, but you have fought through it all. And all of us, and I see the racers, and I see the people that work around you, and I see the people, the passion they have to help and support you. And it's almost feels like there's a passion for the racing, but part of that desire to be out there was also a passion to help your vision and your leadership come true. So congratulations for you for all these years of doing it. Thank you so much for being on the show. How can people, obviously, Ultra4Racing.com, is that now owned by them?
It's in transition.
Okay.
Transition. Yeah, they will manage Ultra4Racing.com, that brand. I'll manage King of the Hammers brand. Our team will. You can just, my cell number, 909-273-0216, same as it's always been.
There you go.
That's what I've been
you
telling
heard it here
people for years.
first.
Just give me a call.
Give Dave a call. If he doesn't like you, he won't answer you. But it's
no, I'll answer. Even if I don't like you, I'll answer you. But I don't really not like many people.
There's always that moment. That's awesome, Dave. Well, thanks again for being on the show. Corey, anything you want to wrap up with before we say before we end this?
I got something for you.
Oh yeah, go
What's
ahead.
That? More to cover, right? So we have more we can talk about, but you're gonna have to come down to the ranch and talk to me about it. You guys all come down to the ranch. We'll sit outside, sit by the fire, and we'll do this from my ranch next time you want to talk.
That would be awesome.
We'll go out and break my junk.
We'll do a live episode down there.
Right.
Well, you had talked about, like, Corey and Jessy just came off of ModernJeeper Adventure in Death Valley. You had mentioned to me a couple years ago about doing a ModernJeeper Adventure out in Johnson Valley, that you would want to lead out people out there, just taking them for a few days of just that would be incredible. So let's try to plan that. Then we'll do the podcast around that, and what's the best time of year to do that?
My next life, or my next next Friday.
Right.
All right, announcing it here now, right? But yeah, I mean, literally,
we're starting ultra tours. That's what we're doing. We're just want people to come wheeling. Just want people to come wheeling.
Yeah.
So, and it has nothing to do with finances. It's just, let's go wheeling. Because if you do it enough, then good shit happens.
That's awesome. Yep. That's awesome. We'll come out there and do
All
that.
Right.
Hey, I just want to remind everybody, that's it. The Ultimate Rocklander giveaway going on, $20,000 in parts to build the Ultimate Rocklander. You can find it at ultimaterocklander.com. Check it out. We have lots and lots of partners involved in that. It's a great, they're just, more partners are popping on every day wanting to be a part of this giveaway. The giveaway will be done live at Overland Expo West on May 21st at a ModernJeeper Show podcast live. We'll get more details out there, but ultimaterocklander.com, don't miss out. You guys know how to reach me, Matson at metalcloak.com, and Corey at metalcloak.com, and Jessy at metalcloak.com, and of course you can find us at ModernJeeperAdventures.com, ModernJeeper.com, with all the latest news and great stuff. And of course, make sure to visit and support our sponsors and friends. And like I said, Dave gave his phone number out. Give him a call. Tell him you love him. And as he's out there in his plantation that they're visiting in Midland, North Carolina. Wow. I got to go out there and visit out that place. I haven't even been to North Carolina. Corey's been to like all 50 states a couple of times. I've been to like 10, I think, or whatever I crossed over. Man. I got to work on it.
Get out and about.
I know I need to get out. That's the 4 kids are slowing me down. I need to get them out more. All right. Hey, anything else to do, Corey, before we wrap up?
No, I got a lot to digest. My brain is still somewhere else. So it's I love this. I love talking to Dave, and it's been too long to see you in person, and can't wait to spend some more time with you and hear what's going on, and thanks for being on the show. It's pretty awesome.
Looking forward to it for sure.
Great to see y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm glad you guys are. I'm glad you guys are the ones that called that wanted to do this interview. Feels like I'm talking to friends, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's been great. It's been my honor. All right, ModernJeepers out there, thank you so much, and we will see you on the trails.
Cheers.
See ya.
Cheers.